Joining us now is Alan Smith, politics writer for Business Insider, Naveed Jamali, a former FBI double agent and author, How to Catch a Russian Spy, also Ali Vitali, White House correspondent for NBCNews.com. Ali, I want to start with you on this. A lot going back and forth, but based on the Sunday sound that we were just playing, it's going down on political lines here. And up to this point, we did see some of those moderate Republican senators saying, let's wait and get the details. We're not hearing that today.
No, look, I think that from a White House perspective, anytime there's news about Jared Kushner, there is this push to kind of batten down the hatches. He is a Trump family member. He's someone who does wield a lot of power in this White House. And even during the campaign, he was someone who was largely untouchable in terms of the advice that he was given and giving and the way that the president listened to him. And that's the same right now. He's someone with a lot of power in this White House. And I think that this investigation, while politically inconvenient and potentially could turn up more than that, I think the White House is going to largely continue to defend him. And as you said, this is coming down along pretty partisan lines.
Yeah.
I mean, you have someone like Bob Corker who's saying, well, he's offered to tell us what he knows, and they're still telling us that that's the case. So I think that the White House is going to try to push that and say, look, he's someone who's willing to be open about this. And I think that that's the positive PR push that they're looking at, as opposed to, you know, the larger problem that someone so close to the president could have been doing all of these other things with Russia.
So if this is the drumbeat that we expect to hear moving forward the week or two, Alan, then will this move into the committees that are undertaking investigations for them right now, where they're not going to accept this reporting, which has been very much, at least from what we understand, investigated for months on end?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, we can expect that the Jared Kushner stuff's going to dominate some of these hearings in the coming weeks and months. And we already knew earlier on, before a lot of this stuff really exploded into the mainstream, that the Senate Intelligence Committee, I believe, was requesting documents from Jared Kushner. So this is something that was going on for a long time before. And we can already tell, based on some of those Trump tweets from this morning, as the first time that he had gotten back from his big overseas trip, that he's going to be painting this as some of these sources might be totally illegitimate. The quote, fake news could be completely making up this narrative, which is kind of out there, but you know, we know how he's going to be handling this. We've seen the White House and the Republican response to a lot of this, and it seems so far to be like, well, you know, it's not that abnormal to be opening up such back channels. So we sort of see how this is going to play out on partisan lines.
Yeah, because it was moving more, if you will, neutral. It could be moving more partisan as they come back from their break. Naveed, some of the explanations behind this that have been put out there is that potentially this could have been Russian officials understanding that the United States and our intelligence infrastructure, that they're listening and that we're listening, and therefore this was put out there, and now it's out there because it's causing a bit of an uproar in the United States. In other words, Russia is doing this knowing that this would happen.
Absolutely. I mean, in regards to the sort of explanations that for Kushner doing this, I mean, it doesn't make sense, Richard. That's the short of it. You know, if you take the law enforcement's criminality part of this aside for a moment and you focus on what intelligence officers do, which is look for indications and warnings, which is a fancy way of saying you're looking for patterns. And the pattern here is one of simply deception, that when someone simply omits something, and that could be an honest mistake. Once you have two or three and you have a tangible velocity of someone trying to hide a pattern here. And as a counterintelligence officer, a security officer, that raises extraordinarily bright red flags. And I mean, look, it would draw a counterintelligence or a security officer to infer that this person is an agent of a foreign country. So that's where we're starting with this. Again, I don't know what the legality of this is or what the prosecutability of this is. Nonetheless, from a purely counterintelligence standpoint, this does not look good for Mr. Kushner.
Back to the White House. Ali, first full day for the president, right? What's sort of the energy level that you're seeing?
I think that this White House was feeling really good coming off of the foreign trip. I know that one of the pieces that I just posted to NBC.com today was that they're really calling it a win, and they needed one because they were in the midst of a bunch of controversies here back in D.C. We've been covering it. Everyone's been covering it. And I think that this trip gave them a little bit of a break from that, an ability to say, hey, look, we can go and take this America First message onto the foreign stage, and we can make it work. We can tell people in Saudi Arabia that we want to lead a coalition against extremism. We can take our message to NATO, although it's awkward and inconvenient to say that we want to pay more. I think that some Republicans, especially in Washington, have said to me, well, that's a message that people have been pushing behind the scenes for quite some time, and it hasn't been getting any reaction. At least Trump is now saying it publicly, and maybe they'll be able to listen. So I think that there is a happiness and a successful feeling around this foreign trip from the White House and also from some of the people in the Republican Party. And I think that that's something the White House is going to want to ride even as it continues to deal with all of these different controversies that really is a drip, drip, drip that we've been seeing over the course of the past few weeks.
Alan, how's this translating to the investigations that are on the Hill? Their staffers are still in the city at the moment working hard, maybe not now, but in the coming week.
Yeah, I mean, President Trump's trip overseas gave a little bit of a break from some of this stuff that was going on. I mean, we're certainly going to be seeing a lot more of it as we go forward here with President Trump back in the States. But the Jared Kushner revelations on Friday, I mean, as we're seeing this drip, drip, drip out in the press, it's really putting a lot of pressure on a lot of these investigations to be moving quickly. I mean, we have Robert Mueller now as the special counsel overseeing the Russia investigation, and from what I can gather, it's going to be going rather slow from his end. But with the drip, drip that we've seen in the media, it's only putting more pressure on this to pick
15
up.
seconds, Naveed, James Clapper saying, warning light. How do you react?
He's absolutely right. I mean, very quickly, what the Russians did leading up to the election, the assumption was that January 20th it stopped. If, in fact, Jared Kushner does have these connections to Russia, what I can tell you is it hasn't stopped. It's still ongoing. And that is, boy, that is nothing short but breathless.
Yeah, he did say a lot by saying that. Naveed Jamali, thank you so much. Alan Smith, Ali Vitale, thank you. Happening now, we're also watching this story. A shooting spree in Mississippi. It's left 8 people dead, including a sheriff's deputy. The victims were shot dead at 3 separate locations in rural Lincoln County overnight. That suspect, 35-year-old Willie Corey Godbolt, admitted to the shooting after being arrested. His intention, he says, suicide by cop. Take a listen.
My pain wasn't designed for him. He was just there.
So you're saying he was kind of collateral damage?
We was talking about me taking my children, and her sister and auntie called the police. I was having